The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Julian Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Streamline Operations and Sales with CRM, presented by Peter Wolf of Azamba. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment after the presentation to answer our one survey question. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited Azamba here today because they are the industry experts in customer relationship management. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels, so we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Peter.
Well, thank you very much, Jolene, and thanks SWK for allowing me to present today. This is very exciting. I'm going to, oh my goodness, let me hide this. Can I just close this? Oh no, yeah, there we go. Okay, great. Everyone can still see me, Jolene?
Yep, we can see you and we can see your screen, Peter.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks everybody. I'm gonna show you my picture so you can see that I'm live. I'm not lip syncing this. But let's just dive right in. I really appreciate everyone showing up. I do encourage you to ask questions. So CRM can be a pretty broad topic, and today we're going to go into an area that a lot of people don't naturally think about with CRM, which is streamlining operations. Most people think of CRM as a sales tool, and it definitely is a sales tool, but it could be a lot more than that. As Jolene said, I'm Peter Wolf. I'm with the Azamba Consulting Group. I started the company. I've spent the last 20 years focused on helping small and medium-sized companies become more profitable through CRM. And we really focus on the end result, the success. If you've ever implemented CRM or tried to implement a CRM, you probably understand that there's quite a few difficulties and challenges with that. But we've been doing it for so long. We've helped over 400 customers like yours, like you guys. And so we've kind of learned tips, tricks, and best practices, and we can help you. If you're interested in knowing more, just reach out to me after this call. You can find me on LinkedIn. I also will share my email here at the end. But let's just talk a little bit about a survey that was recently done. It was at the end of last year of small, medium-sized businesses, and they were asked what the top priorities are. And what I thought was interesting about this survey is how much it aligns with CRM. And it probably explains why CRM right now is exploding. So more and more companies than ever before. So I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm seeing so many companies say, you know what, I need CRM. And I think it's because out of these things here, increase operational efficiency, that's perfect for CRM. Create better customer experiences, that's almost the definition of what CRM is traditionally in most people's minds. It's customer relationship management. It's all about making higher quality experiences for your customers and your prospects. Improve security, that's not really CRM, but I know why it's on everyone's mind with the rise in viruses. I'm gonna go past that, but driving revenue, maintaining revenue, so recurring revenue, making sure repeat business comes back to you, that's CRM. Keeping up with customer expectations, improving employee productivity. When it comes to streamlining operations, employee productivity is a big part of that. I'm gonna cover that here with some really cool and simple tricks that you can implement if you're already using CRM, or if you're not, some things to think about that CRM would help you with. Stay ahead of and on pace with competition. I'm actually surprised this wasn't higher in the list, but I think maybe it's just because it's just an ongoing reality that in today's marketplace, we have to be competitive and we always have to stay ahead of our competition, because the internet has kind of leveled the playing field for us all, where our customers and our prospects can just go out to the internet and find our competitors real quickly. 10, 15 years ago, that just wasn't the case. So, I can see why this is on this list, but I'm just surprised it's not a little bit higher. Improve staff retention rates, team morale. CRM doesn't really address that, so I'm gonna move on. Reduce complexity, certainly. So when you use CRM to create structures and controls and automations, what it does is it helps you make sure nothing falls to the cracks. And so if Peter Wolf, salesperson, has a situation he's running to, and there's something in place in the CRM system that tells Peter what the next steps are, that reduces complexity. So Peter can focus on building those relationships, building solutions for the customers, and closing down that sale properly. So like just reducing complexity is great with CRM because of the control processes that you can invoke. It also can help with new hires. So a lot of small, medium-sized businesses struggle with orientation and new hires because, and I'm a small business owner myself, so I understand this completely. It's not always easy to have all those programs that a larger company would have. So reducing complexity and allowing someone to train them on how to use the CRM, and then from there, the CRM kind of dictates some of their actions and shows them what the next steps are. That's really powerful stuff because it helps you get your new hires productive faster. So let's break this down a little bit. So as I mentioned, all right, I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. So CRM to the rescue. So CRM tackles most of those things. What we're going to focus on today is the 4 key facets of CRM that help you streamline operations and sales processing too. First and foremost is the central database. I'm not going to spend that much time on this, but this is the foundation of how CRM works its magic. We're going to talk about integrations and more how no one wants to key data in. Salespeople certainly don't want to key data in, so it's more important than ever that we integrate with other systems, pull data in, make it simple to push the data into CRM, etc. Process control, this is a big part of streamlining operations, so we'll cover that in depth. And then automations. I'm going to show you a few slides here, but then I'm going to jump over into the software and we're going to talk about these things. So the central database, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but CRM is what's called a relational database. A lot of companies come to us and they're still using Outlook and spreadsheets. So Outlook has got all sorts of inherent problems with it because my data, my Outlook is in my folder, Jolene's is in her folder, yours is in your folder. Like we all see our own world, but we don't share information. And in today's fast-moving businesses, team-based selling is so important, and being able to see what our coworkers have promised customers or prospects and kind of what they deliver to them, that's really important for us to be able to do our job effectively. Obviously, you enter once and it's available wherever you go. CRM is going to be mobile. So I personally sit at my desk, my home office desk here. I put my data in, but if I'm on the road on my phone, I can pull it up. It works perfect. If I'm on the couch at night, I can pull up my iPad. I can see the information. It's just convenient. A lot better than spreadsheets. And the other problem with spreadsheets, of course, is that they can be clunky to update. Certainly Office 365 and Google Sheets makes it a little bit easier to collaborate and share information, but it's still clunky and it's hard to make actionable items from spreadsheets. So like you might put a note in there next to a record that says, call them in 2 weeks, but that's a row of data on a spreadsheet that might get lost. So we'll cover that in a little bit here too. And then sales and accounting data working together. So if you're an SWK customer, they're probably helping you with your accounting software. And so it's really a powerful thing as a salesperson or as a service person when a customer calls in to see, what they bought in the past, what their current open orders are. It's very common if you have CSRs, customer service reps, a customer might call up and say, where's my order? And so all of that can be put inside a CRM because it's a central database. All right, so I'm going to move on from there. And integrations, this kind of goes along the same theme. So you've got your central database, but now how do you get data in? Well, yeah, obviously you can key records in, but no one wants to key data in. Let's face it. I know I don't. So how can we make that as smooth as possible and eliminate entering of data? So some of that is pulling data into CRM. So with the Sage accounting software, you have integration points with your CRM that'll just automatically push that data forward. The users don't have to do anything. So they just go into the record and they see it, like I said. But you can do that with other systems. Last year, we had a customer that did freight hauling, and they, have like 400 trucks out on the road at any given time, and they want to know what's being shipped. So when a customer calls in, they could just quickly look up, their past shipments, current shipments on the road, future scheduled shipments. So, we just, that shipment database was in a mainframe system. So you don't really think about integrating with mainframes, but the data was there. So we created an integration method for them to pull that data in without anybody having to rekey it. It immensely helped their salespeople. So when the customers calls up, they can get them called up, they can get them on their way faster. You can also push CRM data out to other systems. This happens a lot. So the process for most people without CRM is all quotes and orders go into an accounting software. With CRM though, that quotes and orders fall into a sales motion, which typically is handled by CRM. So that's a perfect example of pushing data to other systems. So if I'm on a customer or a prospect, I could put the quote together and it would push into my accounting software so that it's available in both systems. That's just a great example of that. Another thing about pushing data is you can create amazing, it's called data warehousing. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it. I know SWK works with data itself and a few other business intelligence tools, but data warehousing is essentially taking all the data from all the different systems and bringing it together and then doing analytics on that. Well, CRM can also do some of that. So it can either pull these dashboards or analytics from other systems, or you can just build it right in the CRM. And the cool thing is you can start to see trends that you might not be able to see right now. And when it comes to streamlining operations, how can you streamline things that you can't measure? With CRM, because all the data is in one place, you can start to track things better. You can start to make informed decisions about where do you go next? What do you streamline next? So for example, if I see it takes us 5 days to go from one stage in that sales cycle to another stage, what are the things in that stage that are taking the most time? And that's where warehousing and analytics can help you start to slice and dice and understand your processes better so that you can streamline them. Let's see. Now this is where we get into the really cool stuff. This is process control. So people call this business process flows, they call it workflows, but essentially what you want to do with process automation is control the steps and stages. And it's a simple thing such as I want to qualify a lead. So what fields do I need to capture when I qualify? What automations do I want to trigger when I'm qualifying? What happens once it's qualified? What happens if it's not qualified? Where does it go? So you can control the flows, and you can even have dynamic flows. So for example, if you have different lines of business, or possibly a new customer goes through a different sales cycle than a prospect, so you might have to do a credit check on a prospect, you can have different steps based on the type of deal, the type of company. Is it an A-level customer? Is it a C-level customer? So you can control those flows and control those automated actions based on these process flows. I'm going to show you this here in a minute. And then, of course, you can track what's happened. So if a deal has stalled out and you want to see what's going on there, yeah, you can go call the sales rep and talk to them. But a well-built CRM, what it's going to allow you to do is pull up that sales opportunity and see, oh, Peter talked to them on this date and qualified them. He negotiated some pricing, sent them a quote on this date, but now there's been no follow-up since then. So I need to find out from Peter what happened. Why is he not followed up? But the key is that that information is there in the system, so you're not scratching your head looking at that, wondering why nothing happened. Or worse, you don't even know it was in your pipeline because it's in Peter's spreadsheet somewhere or tracked in his email. So again, it's all the stuff is related to streamlining operations, but it's important that you can track these things. And then automations. Now this is where the magic really starts to happen, because this is where you make the system work for you. And I always take a very practical approach to this. Certainly you can think of amazing, huge automations, but a lot of times it's the little things that make life easy for your people and create a nice streamlined, controllable flow of information through your company, through your systems. So a simple example is, I send you a quote, my system reminds me in 2 business days, follow up with you. So that's simple. It's a follow-up. I could certainly put that follow-up on my calendar. I could also look through my open quotes and just say, oh yeah, geez, I forgot I need to call them about that quote. But the system just pops it on my calendar for me. That's just one example. There's all sorts of other things that you can do. For example, if you sell products that have samples, so if you send out samples, a lot of our customers that are in the food industry will send out samples. So it's not enough just to say I sent a sample. what you want to do is make sure you have a follow-up. So maybe a customer asks for a sample, you put a request into the warehouse to ship off a certain sample. You then do a follow-up in 7 days to make sure that they got the sample. Then you follow up in another 7 days after that to ask them if they would like to place an order, like an introductory order. Maybe you even, to goose the sales, you automatically send them a 10% off new customer coupon just to get the sales motion going with them. But those are things that you could just make a single push button. And if you're doing those things 100 times a month, 100 times a week, those little things start to add up very quickly to streamline your business, improve productivity. And a big part of streamlining operations is making sure things don't slip through the cracks. So if I'm just a sales rep, just doing my job, doing the best I can, sometimes things get dropped, but the system won't drop anything. The system's always going to remind me. The system's always going to be there for me. Automations can be user-driven or data and date-driven. What do I mean by that? Well, user-driven is the most obvious one. It's a push button, and I'm going to show you an example of that. But essentially, it's like that sample. Imagine if you had a button that just said send sample, or someone requested your latest product catalog. You hit send catalog, and when it sends the catalog, maybe it does a couple steps. When you send that sample, it does a couple steps. That's user-driven automation. Data and date-driven automation, that's the example of I sent a quote and it's been sitting in my pipeline for 2 days and no further progress has been done. So automatically remind the sales rep to call them back. And you can even get more sophisticated than that with data and date-driven automation. So for example, you could say, if it's a quote under a certain dollar threshold, just send an email automatically from the system to that prospect or customer. And it could look like it's from the sales rep, but the system's taking care of it for the sales rep. And maybe it just puts a note on the sales rep's calendar that says, hey, I got you covered. I sent out that follow-up, so you don't have to worry about it. So that's great. You could also say things like, if it's an A-level customer, it doesn't matter if it's below the threshold. We want the sales rep to call them because those are our top customers, and we just want to give them the personal white glove treatment when we talk with them. So just pop it on the calendar. So that's just kind of the high level. And I'm going to pull up the software and kind of go through things. And just a little bit of information here. So at the end of this, and definitely if you have questions, pop them in chat. And I'm going to open this up to Jolene towards the end where I'll answer some of the questions. You can always reach me on LinkedIn as well. So Peter Wolf Azamba, I'm pretty much the only Peter Wolf at Azamba out there. So you can reach me there, or you can pop me an email, or contact your SWK account manager because they're here to help you as well. All right. So Jolene, if there's no questions, I'm going to just jump into the software. I'm going to assume there's no questions unless you speak up.
None currently, Peter.
Okay. Perfect. So the first thing I want to show you all is when we talk about streamlining operations. So I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you Microsoft Dynamics 365, which is a CRM product. Sage also has a CRM product, but today I'm going to show you Dynamics 365. I know in the past we've done several webinars with SWK on Sage, so you could definitely go ask Jolene for some of those recordings. But today I'm going to show you Dynamics. One of the cool things about Dynamics, and other CRMs will do this too, is that it's where you want to be. So when we talk about streamlining things, instead of forcing me to go to a separate application, put that information where I need it. And so with Dynamics, I'm sitting here in my Outlook. I'm in this email from Jolene about this event. And I've got this little panel over here. I could track this email to CRM so that all my coworkers can see this email that Jolene sent me. But I also see this record here for Jolene and this account. And so what I can do from here is just pull this up. So I don't need to go over to Dynamics. I don't need to go to a separate app. Technically, this is pulling up CRM, but it's made it easy for me to do as a salesperson. So again, it's all about streamlining flow, making things more productive. This might seem like a simple thing, but honestly, this is like a really cool and handy way to make your life of your sales reps easier. A lot of people struggle with CRM. They think it's cumbersome. Well, heck, you can't make it any easier than putting in an Outlook, which is where most sales and service people live and die. So from here, I can quickly see any open sales opportunities we have with Jolene, if she's got any service tickets, projects, and you can completely customize the screen to match your needs. But the key takeaway is that, again, streamlining operations, this is put this tool right here at my fingertips. And I can also, if Jolene's asking me, hey, Peter, can you do a custom dashboard in my CRM system? I can quickly add a new sales opportunity and then start tracking it. If she has a complaint, I could add a case. If she sent me contact information for one of her peers, I could add a new contact, or I could track phone calls. The key takeaway, again, is just they've made it easy to do what I need to do in CRM, but in the tool that I'm using mostly, which is Outlook. Okay, so I'm going to shut this down, and I'm going to jump over to one more thing. I don't know how many of you are using Teams currently, but Teams is, in my opinion, just a real revolution in productivity. So we use it extensively here. And so we have teams to discuss projects, to discuss customers. And just like with Outlook, you can come in here and you can embed dynamics in CRM. And so at our company, sales and marketing are usually inside of Outlook a lot of their day, but my service people, the consultants, the engineers, they spend a lot of their day inside of Teams. And so just like I showed you in Outlook, I'm inside of Teams here, and I'm embedded in this record for this account. And I can do everything I can do in CRM. I can do it right from within Teams, and it's all integrated. It's all filing the same information. So it's just very powerful. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually jump over to the full CRM. It's gonna look just like this though, just so you know, it's very slick the way it does that. Just ignore all these tabs up top here. So this is CRM, and when we talk about the central database, it's the way it represents all the data in Microsoft Dynamics is just lists. And these lists, I think of them in my mind as just giant spreadsheets. But instead of having separate spreadsheets, it's actually one gigantic spreadsheet of all of your accounts, whether they're prospects, customers, partners, all of your contacts. It's the same idea. It's all of my contacts, all of my projects, all of my sales opportunities, all my service tickets, all of that can be in CRM. And I'm going back to accounts right now because I want to show you another thing you can do is you can slice and dice this. Just like with a spreadsheet, I could say, just give me my prospects and customers and partners who are also customers and do my filters. So just like with a spreadsheet, I can filter, and I can filter on multiple columns if I want. I can also create custom filters. And custom filters are very powerful. And what they do is they allow you to see very specific sets of data. So again, when we talk about being more productive, if you could drill down on your data quickly and make informed decisions, that makes you more productive. And if there's certain views that you use a lot, so like let's say I do this customer, partner, prospect view a lot, you could save that view and it shows up in this list here. So imagine a system where you could say, all my accounts I should talk to this week. And what would that be? Behind the scenes, that could be a filter that says, my A-level customers that I haven't talked to and it's been more than a week, my B-level customers that I haven't talked to, it's been 30 days, and my C-level customers, the customers that call us a lot and get quotes but never buy, maybe it's been 3 months. And so again, when we talk about streamlining, we're talking about making life easy for people to do things with less steps, less clicks, faster. So if you had a view like that that let you see those things, it's very powerful to help you get on your way. I'm going to go into one of these accounts right now, but then I'm going to jump over to process control pretty quickly. So I just want to spend a few minutes here talking about this. And I'm kind of going to jump ahead a little bit. So the last thing I covered in the PowerPoint deck was automations. But I wanted to show you how that can manifest here inside of CRM. So I'm on this account, and we've created this thing called easy buttons. So if there's certain things that you do over and over and over again, you can create a button, a single push button that takes the place of the 4 or 5 clicks, the 10-minute process, the 5-minute interruption that you get here and there, turn it into a single push button. And this is so key to making the life of your service people, your salespeople easier. and to make sure that things get done. Because if you take something that takes 5 or 6 steps and someone's really busy, they might miss a step or two, or they might not even do it at all. Not because people don't want to do their jobs, but people get busy and things get dropped. Well, if you take that same 4, 5, or 6 step process and turn it into a single push button, the system won't forget. So what it would do is it would put it on my calendar, it put the follow-ups on my calendar, it would remind me so that I can't forget about it. I can choose not to do them, but I can't forget about them because they'll show up on my activity calendar eventually. And these buttons are just examples to get people thinking about automations, but a lot of our customers, I'm going to give you those examples again of send a sample. So if this is a prospect or an existing customer, they want a sample of our new product line, I could hit a send sample button and it creates some follow-ups. It makes sure the warehouse ships a sample out. It sends the customer a notice saying that they should be getting their sample soon. So you can do those things. It just makes life a heck of a lot easier. And there's really, I kind of shudder to say this, but there's really no limit to the automations that you can do. Some are easier than others, of course. But what I like to say is if you really want CRM to be successful, you break down and you look at what your sales and service people are doing on a regular basis. And anywhere there's like 5 minutes here, 10-minute interruption there, turn those into a push button that makes their life easier. All right, so it's just gonna help everybody out. While I'm in here, I also want to talk about other things that you can do that help streamline operations. So in Dynamics, you have this category type here. And based on the category, you can have different information show up. And what do I mean by that? Well, this is a customer record. So I can see who referred us in. I can see what plan they're on, what their licensing is. But if I change this to a partner, you can see how the screen's changed. And now I've got partner details. I don't have licensing because the partners don't have licensing. Because they're not a customer. But so the key is that, again, show people what they want to see to make their lives easier. And I say that a lot because in my mind, CRM really is all about making the lives of your frontline people easier. Our customers come to us, usually it's management, wanting to get the analytics, the dashboards, the visibility into what's going on with their people. And that is a powerful part of CRM. But we have a saying over here, which is we sell to management, but we implement for the users. The reason being is because if we can make the life of the users better in some ways, it makes using the CRM that much easier to do. So it's, a lot of people will tell me, oh, well, Peter, my people know that CRM is important. They understand how important it is. I always use the counterexample though, like a lot of people know that smoking is bad for them. But the problem is they built habits and they're kind of addicted to it. And a lot of times in life, we know what's right and wrong. And even sometimes if the right way is more efficient and better for us and less hassle, that doesn't mean we're going to do it. So it's all about building habits. And how do we build habits? We give positive reinforcement by taking things that were kind of a pain in the rear and turning them into push buttons. So I'm not doing that administration stuff. I'm not forgetting about things. I don't have to worry and beat myself up about, gosh, I was supposed to follow up with them in 7 days. Well, if the CRM's made it easy for me to do so, then that's going to make life, it's going to make adopting CRM a lot easier for the salespeople and the service people. Another thing that you can do when it comes to automating CRM is you've got this idea of the timeline. So the timeline is a representation of all the things that anybody in our company has done with anybody at this customer. So it keeps track of things that were done and it keeps track of things that will be done for this customer. So those reminders that I was telling you about before, like I sent a sample out, there's a reminder to call them about that sample, make sure they got it, see if they want to put an order in. Those would all show up here. So this is great. So in addition to automations, because some people will tell me, rightly so, those automations scare me because I don't want those things to automatically happen every time. And that's a very good consideration because sometimes, we can automate things to death and it can create a very impersonal experience for our customers and prospects. So we want to watch out for that. So Microsoft has this idea of this thing called a playbook. And what is a playbook? A playbook is just a collection of activities. kind of like I was saying with those automations before, they could do 4 or 5 things. Well, you could create a playbook that does exactly the same stuff, but it's manually chosen. So if Dan Shoes calls up and wants a product catalog, instead of having that push button, send product catalog, I could add a playbook to the timeline. And so the playbook would put 6 tasks on here, but then the user can go and say, nope, take that one off. I don't want to see that one on there. Don't do this one either, or actually schedule this one for a month from now, not a week from now, because I know that Dan Shoes is a kind of in a busy part of their season. So I know that they're not going to review that information for a couple weeks. So you can create these things called playbooks, again, just to streamline and make it easy to put things onto the calendar. All right. I want to jump over now to talk about one last thing about streamlining. So the other thing that we have a lot, that we see a lot with our customers and prospects, is people have files all over their network. Marketing files, sales literature, forms, so like a customer credit check form, maybe an order form. So in Dynamics, in CRM, so Sage CRM does this as well, you can store files. So where do these files go? Well, they go to the SharePoint folder. So they're still available. If someone wanted to dig around in SharePoint to find the file, you'd still be able to see these files, but you'll also be able to pull them up from CRM. So I personally hate digging around in file folders. So like if someone said, oh, the contract's in the Dan Shoes folder, and I have to go to some J drive or some network share drive and dig for this file, that can get pretty frustrating pretty quickly. By applying it to Dan Shoes record CRM though, I can just go pull up Dan Shoes on my phone or on my computer, go to the files tab, and it'll be right there. So it just it organizes things a little bit better. It integrates nicely with SharePoint, so it's still there, it's still in your system, it can be secured, but it's available and accessible through CRM. And so again, it's all about making life easy and putting all the data in one place so people can get to what they need when they need it. So now I'm going to jump over to show you a process flow. So one of the simplest process flows to think about is around a sales process. But because, you know, if I have a new prospect that came to me and they're looking to buy CRM, I might have a process that qualifies them. I might do a discovery call with them to find out more about their needs. I might do a presentation, a demo presentation. I might show them the quote. I might go into negotiations, and then I might go to the close stage. But you can also do processes around service tickets. That's a very common one. It's pretty easy to understand. So a ticket comes in, it's logged. We review it, analyze it to make sure it's actually an issue versus a training exercise where someone might not know something about CRM, but we need to show them. Maybe it's a customization request. But so like you can track these things, you can put out a solution, wait for customer verification, and then finally close it when the customer is set closed. And all those processes can be both internal and external. What do I mean by that? Well, the service ticket's the easiest one to understand this with is, so if one of my engineers puts out there that this ticket is closed, that's an internal close. It could email the customer and say, here's the details, here's what we did, can you please retest this and let us know, click yes or no if it's closed. And so you can embed that form with just a simple yes, no, so the customer can just confirm that it is closed and say yes. If they click no, maybe it pops up and says, well, it works for this condition, but not this condition. Can you guys please fix that? And so that would come back into our CRM so we could see that. But so you can integrate external people into these processes that you can streamline and control. So it gets really pretty slick. And all that's done, just the system is doing that for you. No one has to do a lot of legwork. And these things don't take, in the old days, these used to take a long time to build out and customize. But more and more nowadays, these things are configurations, and they can be built pretty easily with a drag and drop interface where you can, it's almost like if you've ever built a flow chart, you can say, if it's this condition and it's a yes, go this way. If it's no, go this way, and then do this. And then if this goes this way, go this way. And so like you could build these decision trees and the system will take care of all those things automatically. So let's dive into one of these things. I'm going to go to an open one. So let's look at this Gordon Sneakers wants to buy 3 erasers from us. That's gonna be a big sale, I bet. Oh, $10,000 for 3 erasers. That's pretty nice. I'm in the wrong business, let me tell you. So here's what the process looks like in Dynamics. And as I explained before, this is completely configurable. Your steps might look different, and you might have different steps based on the size of the deal, if it's a prospect versus a customer. You could even have different steps if it's a junior salesperson, someone that's only been on the job 90 days, six months, whatever, probation period. So maybe in here, instead of propose, it's send a manager for review. So like you can control the stages and make them applicable to the situation. And each one of these stages, you have further controls. So before I can move it forward from qualify, you see the red asterisk? We can say that some piece of information are required. And again, this goes back to helping simplify the life of your people. There's still creativity in the process as much as you want, and you don't have to lock this thing down as much. You can make it very loose if you want, but by putting in these requirements and putting in these fields, you're helping guide the behavior so that no one misses an important step. So if we say this is qualified, but I don't fill out a time frame or a budget, honestly, that's in a sales world, that's not qualified. That's just someone asked us for something, but we might go pretty far down this road and find out that their budget was $50 and these erasers are going to cost them $10,000. So we just wasted everybody's time. So you can require this field and you wouldn't be able to move forward to the next stage until the required information is filled in. So that kind of explains how that works. But then as you move forward, and I know I've mentioned automations before, but I'm going to just go through it again because it is an important part about streamlining operations is getting these automations, small and large, put into the system. Usually they're tiny little automations, but they all add up. But for example, if I qualify this and I fill out some fields, there could be an automation that says, well, this is for this certain product, so we've qualified it that they're interested in erasers, and Peter is our eraser expert. So even though Susan put this sale in, she started the sale, because Peter is our eraser expert, we're going to put it on his pipeline, and we'll let Susan know that we've reassigned it to Peter because he's our eraser expert. Maybe Susan didn't know that, but that you can control those processes. Another thing that's really common is we get to the close stage. If we close this, and let's say Gordon Sneakers was a prospect of ours, if we close this and Gordon's given us the paperwork, signed off, it could trigger a whole bunch of things. It could push this over to the accounting software, so add Gordon Sneakers as an accounts receivable customer, so no one has to rekey Gordon Sneakers. It flags their CRM record as a customer as well. It may send the order to the fulfillment team. Hey, they put this order in, do your kickoff, schedule the work, get them what they asked for. It might do a reminder in 30 days for the sales rep to call them back and say, hey, George over at Gordon Sneakers, how are things going? Did you get your order yet? Let me know, I'm here for you. It might put them on the catalog mailing list. And I'm kind of beating these things to death because my goal today here was to get you thinking about different ways you could use a process flow and combine it with all simple automations to make your life easier, to make sure nothing falls through the cracks, to make sure things get done as expected, and help your people do more in the same amount of time with less stress. That's really what it's all about. So that's kind of like some examples of how that works. And as I'm moving this forward, there'll be a timeline that keeps track of when things move forward, what automations were scheduled, what things were done. And I've said this before, but I want to say it again because I know a lot of times when I'm talking with prospects, people do get nervous about the automations. Over here, we're big fans of crawl, walk, run. I've seen too many people try to do too much with CRM from day one. And what that does is it creates these massive implementations that cost a lot of money, that can have a lot of moving parts that can go wrong. and it really delays your time to return on investment. So what we recommend is you don't worry about those automations. Know where you can go with these tools, but start simple. Start with the basics. Instead of having any buttons at first, maybe you're just manually doing things, and then you're making a list of what things people are doing over and over and over again. Then you come back in and you make those automations, and then you tweak those automations. So we've been using Dynamics internally for 5 years now, and we ourselves are like nonstop improving our system. And that's like a key part of getting better is when you go to streamline your operations, a lot of times, especially small business owners and management teams, and like I said, I'm one of them, I have the same struggles and pains and opportunities that you all do. A lot of times we get overwhelmed with all the things that we want to do. The beautiful thing about CRM, and especially in my opinion, Microsoft Dynamics, makes it very easy to just make tiny incremental improvements that help move things along, and then you create a culture of constantly improving. And when I say constant, it doesn't need to be every day, but like for what we do is we create what we call a wish list. So there's things that we're struggling with, things that we want to make smoother for our people, and we'll put them on the wish list. And then what happens is, for us, it's usually once a month. We're going through, we're looking at those things, we're identifying quick wins, things that won't take too much time to do, that we can put in place that will make a big impact for our customers, make their experiences better. And so we'll put them into our CRM, create more automations. We'll create more specific easy buttons for our people, create better steps in our workflow process. And that's kind of, in my opinion, what it's all about is get in, keep your costs low, keep the scope low, start using it, and create a culture of improvement. And that's what'll happen is slow and steady. Your business will be running like a lean, mean, profitable machine, and you're going to be outmaneuvering your competition. I've seen it happen over and over at our best customers. That's what they do, and it is a beautiful thing to see when it all comes together like that. So, Jolene, I know we're done. We're a little bit early here, but I've covered everything I wanted to cover today. I wanted to leave room for questions and also just give back some time to people, because I know how a lot of people are super busy these days. But I'm wondering if there's any questions or thoughts out there. And definitely I encourage, for anybody listening here, I hate monologuing on these types of things. I do love questions. So if you think there's something that I was off base on or I didn't explain very well, please speak up. I'm here to serve you and help you. So this is all about you. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it in public, my email is pwolf@azamba.com, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to share information. Even if you're not ready to go forward with CRM, I'm happy to talk with you. And by the way, I know I did just say I was going to turn it over, Jolene, but if anybody's interested, we have a CRM readiness survey. It's kind of like a BuzzFeed, cutesy kind of like little click some pictures and just kind of figure out if you're ready for CRM. So if you're interested, you can just go to azamba.com/CRM-ready, and it'll take you to the screen. And it'll give you kind of a score on whether you're ready for CRM. And if you already have CRM and you're struggling with it, definitely reach out to your SWP account rep or give me a shout. We help a lot of customers who are struggling with CRM. Unfortunately, a lot of CRM projects go south and they end up being glorified Rolodexes. It doesn't need to be that way. Hopefully some of the things I showed you today have started your wheels in motion and you're like, oh wow, that's really cool stuff. I should be doing that. So that's it, Jolene. That's what I have.
Thank you, Peter. We'll now open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of your GoToWebinar. And just a reminder, everyone, we do have a subject matter expert here. This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered in real time. And we did have a couple come in during the presentation, Peter. The first being, would this work with Sage 100?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jolene, I have a question. Who's the subject matter expert? When are they getting here?
I think it's all you, Peter.
Oh, dang. Good. So would this work with Sage 100? Absolutely. So I showed you today Dynamics. And like I said, there's other webinars that we've done that show Sage CRM. But, Sage 100 has quite a few options. These days, I kind of lean more towards Dynamics myself. And that's what we're using in-house, mainly because it's totally cloud-based and I don't have to have a server for it. but Sage CRM also will work with Sage 100. And it's really cool. I didn't show that today, but what it does is it allows me when I go pull up those accounts to see their quotes, their orders, products they've purchased. So I get that better insights. And then another cool thing that happens, Jolene, is that this isn't really about streamlining operations, but it's about serving customers. So I could say things like, give me all my customers who purchased product X in the last 12 months, because we'd like to talk to them about this new product that we're launching, and we'd like them to know about it. So you can get lists and slice and dice your database on the accounting data. So that's a really powerful way to stay on top of things.
Perfect. We have a couple more. What are the costs for CRM?
That's a good question. So cost will vary based on your size and your complexity. Like I said, we are proponents, advocates. I'd say we're almost militant about starting simple with CRM. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've seen too many people try to shoot the moon and go really far with CRM, and they end up spending a lot of money, and there's so many moving parts, and things just fall apart on them. We're big fans of keep the investment low and then add to it over time. The interesting thing is, it is an investment though. So like some people will come to us and say, oh, I looked at Salesforce and it looks like I could just buy the licenses. Well, I hate to tell you, 40 to 70% of CRM projects fail. And it's because people don't take it seriously enough. They think they can just turn on the licenses. It's not an app you're downloading off of the Apple Store. You need to take it seriously. And I know this is self-serving, but like with a professional team like ours, we've learned the hard way of what to do and what not to do to make sure that this investment is protected. The last thing you want to do is spend any amount of money on CRM and then 12 to 18 months later shelve it, because the reasons why you went to CRM are probably because competitive pressures are growing. So if you lose 12 to 18 months going down the wrong road, that's hard to get that time back. Forget the money, forget about the investment in the licenses. It's hard to get that time back. So a 10-person company, let's just say a 10-person sales team, service team, you're probably going to expect around $15,000 to $25,000 first year investment. That covers the whole first year, but it will vary, Jolene. So if someone is interested in more specifics, I'd be happy to share with them. I got a budgeting sheet I could just run through with them, but that's kind of a range that you should expect. What you should see in return, though, is take some of the things I showed you and mentioned today, and if you can create a 2% boost in productivity, I mean, I know that sounds small, but so that's why I'm putting it out there. And if your sales reps are running with a $500,000 quota or $1 million quota, that investment in CRM pays for itself really quickly. And that doesn't even cover the touchy-feely stuff like just being more responsive to your customers because it's in CRM versus trapped in people's spreadsheets and Outlook. So like you don't need much of a boost in productivity. So some of those tips I showed you today, I'm hoping people are saying like, oh man, that'd be easy to boost productivity by 2%. 2% is like, I'm not good at math, Jillian, but it's like a half hour savings a week. Like I would hope some of those tips I showed you would be able to help people save half hour a week per sales rep.
Perfect. And we have one more. How easy is it to merge Sage ERP software into Dynamics?
It's actually very easy. That's a great question. So we recommend this tool by this company, Graytrix. Some of you may have heard of them. They've been around in the Sage world forever. So they make integration between Sage 100 and Sage CRM. And so part of that integration is you can schedule how often things sync up between the two systems. And you can also suck in all of your account receivables, customers, and all that information. So it's pretty darn easy. And kind of on a related note, Jolene, it's very common, I'm sure the audience probably understands, it's very common for us to run into people with data in accounting software, or a lot of times like buried in people's Outlook. So a lot of people have Outlook contacts. So we have processes that make that bringing data in really simple.
Perfect. And that looks like all the questions we have, Peter. So give me 1 minute as I take back screen control and close out the webinar.
While you do that, I just want to say thank you again, Jolene, for inviting me to participate. I really appreciate our partnership with SWK, and thank you all for being on the call today. I appreciate the chance to speak with you, and reach out to me. I'm pretty easygoing, so
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Peter, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day. That was good.